A'udzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. This is the recording for our lecture for this particular subject, Islamic Management, AAM2153. The title for this lecture is Management Process of Controlling in Islamic Perspective. Outcomes of the chapter. It is desired that at the end of the chapter, at the end of the lecture, students should be able to understand the meaning and concept of controlling. Next, students should be able to explain the Islamic perspective of controlling in organizational management. Let us go to the discussion of definitions of controlling. The word control originates from a French root and the word contre, which means against. Did I spell it correct? Contre, which means against. And the word role, which means a function assumed by someone. And this is based on Webster Dictionary. Management theorists, management scholars, Kuhns and Donnell, 1972, defined control as the measuring and connecting of activities of subordinates to assure that events conform to plans. Thus, the term measures performance against set goals and plans. The act of controlling reveals deviations and assists in assuring the accomplishment of plan. Here, we can say that controlling is one of the important functions of a manager in order to seek planned results from the subordinates, from the other workers. So a manager needs to exercise effective control over the activities of his or her subordinates or downlines. So in other words, the meaning of controlling function can be defined as ensuring that activities in an organization are performed as what we have planned before. So we know that in the management functions, we have planning, we have organizing, and then we learn about leading, and now we come to controlling, the last part or the last stage in the management functions. So controlling also ensures that an organization's resources are being used effectively and also efficiently for the achievement of what we have determined, or what we call as predetermined goals. So again, controlling is a goal-oriented function, and it is primary function of every manager. And then controlling the function of a manager is a pervasive function and is an important function. So we move on to the concept of controlling in management. Controlling is the process of monitoring, the process of comparing, and also correcting work performance. All managers should control even if their units are performing as what they plan, because they can't really know that unless they have evaluated what activities have been done and compared actual performance against the desired standard. Effective controls ensure that activities are completed in ways that lead to the attainment or achievement of goals. Whether controls are effective then is determined by how well they help employees and managers achieve their goals, achieve the organizational goals. And then control in organizational behavior involves regulating the behaviors, adjusting and conforming to the specification of objectives. Some amount of control is unavoidable. The essence of organization is the staff or workers have to give up their independence and follow the requirements or wants of the organization so that the common goals and objectives can be achieved. And this is based on what Tannenbaum 1968 mentioned in his writing. So, control is fundamental to organized activities, and a manager should know he is to achieve a goal and it is not a goal by itself. We need to know that managers at all levels of management, whether they are in top management, middle, lower, need to perform controlling function in keeping control over activities in their areas. Therefore, controlling is very much important, maybe in an educational institution, military institution, hospital, and also a club or a social club in any business organization. In the view of several scholars, for them, controlling function should not be misunderstood as the last function of management. As what I told you earlier, control is at the last cycle of management functions, isn't it? But we have learned that previously in our previous lectures, it is not actually the last function, but it is in the cycle of the management function of planning, organizing, leading, controlling, and we go back to planning and so on. So this is what been stressed out by some scholars, that we cannot misunderstood that controlling function is the last function in management. So again, it is a function that brings back the management cycle to the planning function. So the controlling function can act as a tool which helps, which assists in finding out that how actual performance deviates or run away from the standards, and also finds the cause of the deviations, and then the attempts, the trials which are necessary to take corrective actions based upon the same. So this process helps in the formulation of maybe the organizational future plans in light of the problems that were identified, and thus it helps in better planning in the future periods. So from the meaning of controlling, so we can understand that it is not only completes the management process of planning, leading, organizing and controlling, but also improves the planning stage, okay, in the next cycle of PLOC or POLC and so on. And then control in organizational behavior involves regulating the behaviors, adjusting and confirming to the specification of objectives which we have decided at the earliest stage of the management cycle. So some amount of control is actually unavoidable. And then the function of control comes after the three functions of planning, organizing and leading. So if major problem exists At the planning, organizing, and leading stages, no amount of control is likely to work well. So in this sense, effective control depends heavily on the three major functions preceding it, namely planning, organizing, and also leading. So when these preceding functions are done well, inshallah, control will work well too. When they do not, it means that control is a headache to the manager. Control can be a variable, informing the weakness of planning and also organizing. Control is the regulation of organizational activities so that some targeted elements of performance remains within the acceptable limits. With this regulation, an organization can know how well it is performing to achieve its goals. So it is able to see if the various goals are within reach in the direction it is going. So control can provide adjustments such as adjustment towards finance. If overspent, then it must cut down in cost. So why is control is so important? So control is an indispensable function of management. We need to know that. Without which the controlling function in an organization cannot be accomplished. And the best of plans which can be executed can go away. So a good control system helps an organization in several ways. For example, if I can take from what several scholars had listed, number one, control can assist in terms of maybe accomplishing organizational goals, and then number two, maybe judging accuracy of standards, and then number three, maybe making efficient use of resources that the organization have. Okay, number four, for sure, control can help in improving the workers or the employees' motivation. And then apart from that, maybe number five, can help the organization to ensure order and discipline. And then maybe the last one, if I can say here, to facilitate the coordination in all actions, in all departments in the organization. Okay, so control has the capability of assisting in terms of facilitating coordination. So planning can be done, an organizational structure created to facilitate efficient achievement of goals, and employees motivated through effective leadership. But there is no assurance that activities are going as planned and that the goal employees and managers are working toward are in fact being attained. Control is important, therefore, because it's the only way that managers know whether organizational goals are being met, and if not, the reasons why. So the value of the control function can be seen in three specific areas. It is in planning, empowering employees, and also protecting the workplace. We move on to the Islamic perspective on controlling in management. The basis for controlling in Islam may not be the same with the modern approach, as the mechanism of internal and external controls must not violate the Sharia. This is so important. So the type of control is threefold, encompassing firstly, establishing a standard performance. First, we establish a standard performance. Second, keeping the performers informed in this regard prior to their actions. Okay, so we keep the performers, the doers, the workers informed about the standard performance before they start do their work. Okay, and lastly, taking remedial measures if required. Okay, we want to look into whether the performance had been shown the attainment towards what we call as the standard that we have set. So this is in line with the Quranic verse. Allah, as Allah said, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Allah burdens not a person beyond his scope. He gets reward for that good which he has earned and is punished for the evil he has earned. So thus, the standards set by man are always subject to revision due to his ignorance of the future. Next, Islamic approach to control emerges from its worldview. Social and clan control may be preferable over the legal and market control mechanisms. It is rather human-oriented in its outlook. The present mode of thinking gives great emphasis on Western outlook. And since most of the contemporary management gurus and practitioners are trained in that culture, thus prescribe the same control policies and also practices. However, our culture differs and we need to relook at those prescriptions critically. So the main concept remains true. And a prerequisite for any type of control is of three folds as follows. Number one, the first type, pre-establish a standard of performance. Number two, keep the performers informed in this regard prior to their actions. And number three, take remedial measures if required. And this had been mentioned in our previous slides. So the source is by Abu Habish, 1995. And then Islamic approach is based on a scenario images from the sources of revealed knowledge stated as follows. Number one, a messenger used to be sent by the king of all the kingdoms, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the cities, group of people, or to the head of the community. The messenger communicated the message from Allah Almighty and its requirements, which is standard setting. Number three, people received and some of them understood the message, which came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the people. Number four, many of them continued their old practices, which is shirk and denial, which were going against the delivered message, which is a perceived deviation from set standard. So number five, as remedial measure, Allah provided opportunity in this world for making taubat, asking for forgiveness. Hence, controlling from the position of Islam is more effective as it minimizes the cost of the actual controlling activity, as a devoted Muslim worker will be very much aware of the concept of reward and punishment in Islam, with the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ever watching their performance. It will inadvertently prevent them from committing or covering any mistakes. So that's all for our lecture related to management function of controlling. So I hope that everybody can understand. And please read more about controlling as management function from our textbook. Okay, which is from Khalid and Fontaine. And I hope that you can communicate with me if you don't understand anything or if you want to ask any questions. Inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.